What's going on, everyone? So on Tuesday, September 2nd, Apple surprisingly released iOS 26 Beta 9 to registered developers. This comes as a surprise because we haven't seen a Beta 9 in any major update since 2018. I have it installed on my secondary device here, and you can see it says iOS 26.0, and the build number is 23A5336A, so a little bit changed in the numbers there, but it's still an A at the end, which means we're close to final release. After this, we should see the RC next week. But I'll get to that in a little bit. I didn't catch the exact size of the beta, but I remember it being about 1.55 gigabytes on my iPhone SE second generation. The low size is usually expected for older devices. Now, on newer devices, it will be larger, but a lot of those are temporary files, and those will be deleted after the beta is properly installed. So I'll start off with what's new in Beta 9, and there's not much with it being late in the developer beta cycle, it being Beta 9, obviously, but there is one change I saw, and that was actually with Apple with opening animations. Now, only on older devices though. So you can see I'm on an iPhone SE, the second generation, still has the home button. And in previous betas, they actually didn't add the new app opening animations to this device, but now they did. Now, they didn't make it faster like on newer devices. The speed is relatively comparable, but the actual animation itself, the essence of it has changed. You can see that how it's more bouncy. It kind of bounces up out of the icon there, so you can definitely see that. It looks interesting, and I think it's definitely better. I'm not sure why it's still the same speed, but maybe we'll see a change in the RC, but there's still a chance for that. Now let's go over what was not changed. So one thing that was not changed was liquid glass, and you can see that here as I scroll through a little photo album I have. You can see that, you can see through the buttons at the bottom, those are all the same as they were before. Nothing major here, no new changes at all actually, so you can see that there. And since this is likely going to be the final iteration of liquid glass that is released to the public in iOS 26, I'll show you in some other apps like music, for example. You can see that there as I scroll through the search menu there. It definitely pops more in some apps than others, like the Photos app. Definitely you can see it more there than in here. Just for illustration purposes, this is what it looks like in dark mode in the music app. Again, it's the search menu with these little browse categories. You can notice it a bit more there, actually. Again, it's the same as it was in Beta 8, but I'm just observing what it looks like now because this is likely what's the final version of Liquid Glass that's going to be released to the public. And then I'll show you a little bit through the Apple TV app as well. So I'll scroll through here a little bit. You can see that there through the toolbar at the bottom. That's what it looks like. Now, as far as performance in Beta 9, it seems to be better than Beta 8. Beta 8 was definitely not it, especially on older devices. People on newer devices weren't saying much about it. They thought it was great, but people testing on older devices like me definitely noticed it was just not it. Beta 9 seems to have improved performance quite a bit. It definitely feels faster. It doesn't feel as slow upon first initial startup. The battery is still not great. I think it's a little better in certain situations, but overall it's about the same as it was in Beta 8. So when would the next beta for iOS 26 release? So at this point, we're nearing the end of the beta cycle. It's going to be released to the public soon, around mid-September. But first, we have to go through the release candidate. So that's basically the final release, but for beta testers. That way, if they need to make any more changes beyond that, they can release an RC2. That stands for release candidate, by the way. And then that one would be what's released to the public the following week. So it's basically just the final release, but they're going to beta test it first. That way, you make sure all critical issues are squashed. Especially with a major redesign like liquid glass this time around, they need to make sure most visual issues are gone so that users have a seamless experience. And that event will take place that day, Tuesday, September 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which would be 1 p.m. Eastern time. That should take around 2 hours, and then shortly after that, the RC should release. As far as the final release, it should come out the week after that. So most likely Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, the week of the 15th. So either Monday 15th or Tuesday the 16th will be my bet. But if it needs to, maybe it will come out Wednesday the 17th. That's for the final release. In the release notes, we can see more things that were fixed or changed, and so it's not much, but there are a few things here. One has to do with core data. One of the bugs there was fixed. There's also a bug fixed in the foundation models framework having to do with Apple Intelligence about tool calling. The bug where the create image action for Image Playground would not be available through search or shortcuts, that was fixed, so now that should appear in those places. And then there are many more other fixed changes and known issues listed in the release notes that you can see with the link in the description below. Some key known issues are with the Maps app, and then other than that, there are just a few new items listed in the release notes. Again, you can see those in the description. I have linked them down there, but keep in mind that the Apple release notes include all release note changes, even from beta 1. So it's going to include everything that's been changed ever since beta 1. So a lot of them aren't necessarily new in beta 9. They could be all the way back from beta 1 or betas in between beta 1 and beta 9. So what do you guys think of iOS 26 as a whole? I know there's not too much new in this beta, so mostly going to be looking at it as a whole. So what do you think of it? Let me know in the comments. I think Liquid Glass, I think they hit a home run on it. It took a lot of beta testing and a lot of community feedback. I think they balanced it out pretty well between readability issues and actual texture and design. I still wish there was a slider so people could customize it. A lot of people still do. I can see why. It definitely wouldn't hurt to add one, but let me know what you guys think. I think they did pretty well on it. So that pretty much does it for this beta 9 video. I likely won't do a video about the RC, and I definitely won't do one over the final releases because there's just not going to be much new, but instead I might do videos like a compilation of all the new ringtones that are available in iOS 26 as a whole. And then after that, I might do videos about specific features in iOS 26. Like specific apps that were updated, and then after that I'm going to do more product unboxing. So I have a lot more videos planned, so be sure to stay tuned and all that. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay updated, and other than that, that's all I got. So thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the videos on screen if you want to see more.